Welcome, I am Rael Zeev and your host for Keep Traveling, Your African Vacation, the only podcast which brings you insightful information in the African tourism industry by real tourism professionals. Today is our 23rd episode, and I have the pleasure of introducing Paul Simkin, who is the owner of Nkwichi Lodge on the shores of Lake Malawi. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Paul, I've lived in the southern part of Africa for the vast majority of my life, but have never ventured up to Malawi, unfortunately. So for our international listeners, what is going to be the best way to navigate to Nkwichi Lodge?
One of the wonderful things about Nkwichi Lodge is it's a very remote place in the middle of nowhere. Navigating and access is one of our headaches. So often what people do is they fly into Lilongwe Airport and then get a charter flight over to Lukoma Island, which is quite an old historic island related to Livingstone's time. And then we collect people from Lukoma Island and do the immigration in Mozambique with them, taking them to the lodge. You can only get to the lodge by boat. There's no road access at all. And then the other option is driving down to the lake shore. And from there, we collect people by boat, do boat transfer. So basically everyone comes in with our assistance, but they either get themselves to Lukoma Island or to a lake shore somewhere on the Mozambique shore. It's actually part of the adventure. As soon as you get on your charter flight from Lilongwe, you already feel like you're on holiday. It's no longer a chore traveling. It's a beautiful experience.
Yes, you have to look at it as an experience. So tell me, once we get to Lilongwe, approximately the amount of time that it's going to take us to get to the lodge, whichever way we might be going.
So if you're coming on a small charter flight, it's a 40 minute flight. So it's a relatively short flight. Overland or coming over the lake crossings take around 4 hours. But if you're taking the old traditional ferries or slower boats, you're looking at 6-7 hours crossing the lake. And of course, drive from Lilongwe to the lake. So overland, over lake tour, it is fairly time consuming. You're looking at probably a full day of travel.
Now, once we get to the property, what is there for us to do there?
The sand is beautiful. Nkwichi itself means squeaky in Jenga language. So it's a lovely place. It's a beautiful crystal clear waters. You've got 20 meters visibility, 25 meters visibility. Lake Malawi has close to 1,000 different species of fish. It's like being in a coral reef surrounded by different colors. A lovely thing to do. People spend time walking. We've got thousands and thousands of hectares of Miombo woodland. Depending on the season, either it's beautifully green and looking like the Amazon, or in the sort of dry seasons, the trees have defoliated and it's a feeling of a hot winter. Lovely bushwalking. You don't see a lot of game. There is game. If you're doing longer safari walks, people can camp 1 or 2 nights out. And then going in 10-15 kilometers away, we have elephant and we have wild dog and other animals. But again, it's woodland, so it's not really a game viewing experience. We've done a lot of work with the local communities. We run agricultural training. We've built primary schools, health centres. And so a lot of our clients like to go and spend time looking at the villages, having a chat with the villagers, meeting with the fishery communities. So it's really a sort of low pressure, enjoyable holiday walking around. And a lot of people don't leave the beach, which always annoys me. I think you've got this beautiful mountain range behind you. Climb it, go and see some of the viewpoints.
Tell me about the scuba or snorkeling. Is it safe? You do have predators in the water. You do have crocodiles in Lake Malawi.
We don't offer diving. Ours is really snorkeling and swimming. We have some very basic rules where you can't swim before 6 o'clock in the morning and you cannot swim after 6 o'clock in the evening. We've been operating for 20 years and we've never had a single client ever attacked by a crocodile. You very rarely see them. It will only be early evening or very early morning. They tend to be swimming across the bay from one river mouth to another river mouth. There's some spots we take clients to go and look at them about 5 kilometers away. But the crocodiles in Lake Malawi are very shy and are hunted themselves. They're not high in number. I don't think a villager has been taken for 10 kilometers radius for over 15 years. So it's not really a danger, but let's not be idiots. You also have to be cautious. There's very low population of predators. There's some otters, of course, and the other fish, but they're not a danger. And we've never had a problem, but we also need to remain cautious.
So you're quite comfortable allowing the kids to swim during the day. You don't have a problem with that?
Our kids swim every day. It's hard to get them out of the water at 6 o'clock. It's actually nice, shallow beach, so even young kids can play there, particularly when it's calm. When the lake is calm, it's like a pond. You can drop a pebble and watch the ripples go across. And then in a rough day, you would think you're on the Atlantic with crashing waves and everything else. So you can do some surfing, and body surfing was also fun.
Do you offer any kind of fishing activity?
No, what we've done is actually we worked with the World Wildlife Fund to our waterfront, which is about 2.5 kilometers long. We have indigenous forest behind us, and effectively we've protected the waterfront up to 400 meters of water is a zero fishing zone. So we don't allow local fishing communities from coming there, and we do not fish there ourselves. So it isn't something that we promote. Not that we object to fishing, but it's not something that we are offering because our primary intention is to protect one of the last hidden gems of Lake Malawi, or Lake Nyasa as we call it in Mozambique.
Tell me a little bit more about the camp, the size of the camp, and amenities that you offer.
So we can sleep up to 5 couples. Some of the chalets are very large, and we convert them for families and family groups. So there's one chalet that can quite comfortably accommodate 5 people with their own individual beds. And then we have obviously a restaurant and food provided. We do sundowners on different beaches every day or on different rock formations. And then we do, in the dry weathers, we do dinner served in the open air on the beach. Lake Malawi is very famous for zero light pollution. So it's a wonderful sky every single night.
It sounds fantastic. It really does. So obviously, because you're so remote, you must be growing a lot of your own produce there. How are you sourcing your protein? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Unfortunately, in COVID, we used to run a farm and we had our flower beds and everything. And unfortunately, the COVID crisis did hit us quite badly. And so we were unable to continue running the farm. We basically have deals with local farmers. It's a logistics headache, but we have always managed to get the supplies in with a sort of Portuguese tint to it because Mozambique still retains quite a large amount of Portuguese culture.
Paul, you spoke also that you have started a couple of schools or foundations. Give me a little bit more detail on that.
Again, prior to COVID, we ran a group called Manda Wilderness Trust. So every client, a proportion of their fees went towards community development. We've built 8 primary schools within the area. We've also built about 7 health centers. So primary healthcare and primary education really has been stimulated by the existence of Nkwichi Lodge. We run agricultural training courses to help communities improve their crop and crop productivity and reduce the incentive for slash and burn, because it's really the existing agricultural model in that part of Mozambique which is terribly destructive, and we need to move away from that. We've also run some wonderful things like a sort of local football tournament. It becomes the District Cup. With Andrew Lloyd Webber's support, in fact, we created a community choir contest. Every village sends their choir in, and we have a sort of top of the pops final. Lago District has talent, which is also tremendous fun. So we've integrated that as part of the community sense of togetherness, while also finding ways that people who are more fortunate than them are able to share their holiday experience, but while also helping the communities themselves. We're also now looking at something very interesting. We're working with the government of Mozambique to create a carbon capture initiative, looking at forestry conservation, replanting many of the thousands of hectares that have been deforested, and looking at different ways of unlocking revenue from the voluntary carbon markets. And in that way, we can use that money to support the communities further in their own development. We are targeting 300,000 hectares of land to be protected, and that includes the very wild areas as well as replanting around 4,000 hectares that has been chopped down.
That sounds very commendable. What does your clientele base really look like, and how is your occupancy rate at the moment?
Our clients used to be predominantly from Europe, but now we're getting far more diversified clients. We get a lot of people coming up from South Africa. We have a lot of people coming all the way from Maputo in Mozambique. So we get clients in from Mozambique, and quite a few of the expatriate market coming in from Malawi. It's principally a word of mouth experience. So people come, they always recommend it going on to their friends and others. Our occupancy peak seasons, obviously Christmas and Easter, we are generally full. But again, our isolation access is the challenge. And though we don't have large numbers of staff either, so it really is a private feeling all the way along. It's an incredible place. If you close your eyes and imagine a white sand beach, you think you're in the Bahamas or the Seychelles. You're not. You're in Miombo woodland in Mozambique, and that's incredible. You can swim and drink the water. Where else in the world can you actually jump in the water and swim and drink the water? We've had it chemically tested every year. It's an incredibly safe experience, and it's a very weird feeling.
Yeah, no, it sounds incredible. Those are the kind of places that I like to visit. Paul, tell me a little bit more about yourself, where you've come from and how you've managed to get to what you're doing today.
born in Swaziland, so we're really from Southern Africa. My father was the tail end of the British colonial service just at independence. And then, my father's worked with the United Nations. We travel around the world, principally in Africa, but also in other parts of the world. Got a hunger for travel and for adventure and for the outdoors. And that was really my motivation. It was myself and my brothers that actually created Nkwichi. So my younger brother was the legs on the ground, out doing the exploration, identifying the sites, meeting with the communities, meeting with the chiefs and the elders. And myself and my other brother, he works in television in the UK. And I've always worked in the world of development, humanitarian support and conflict mediation with the UN and with various think tanks and UN organizations. So I've really specialized in Somalia and South Sudan, in sort of post-election violence in Kenya, which is a very long way away from Mozambique and a long way from that sort of serene wilderness.
Paul, I always ask my guests, and I never preempt the question because I don't want to give them a chance to make something up. Again, I'm going to do the same to you. You've been in the tourism game a long time. Tell me something that's happened to you. It could be a funny story. It could be a scary story. Something that's going to sit in the back of your mind and you might share with your kids, or you've shared with them already, and you may or may not share with the grandchildren one day.
One of the funny times was we were there, it was just before Christmas, and myself and my brother and the families and the kids and all the kids are there, and they're playing down on the beach. We're running meetings up in the dining rooms, talking through the business, how can we improve A, B, or C. And the kids rush up, Father Christmas is on the beach. We go, Father Christmas? Father Christmas? Really? How bizarre. So we walk down to the beach, and there's this man with a long white beard and bald head and a very large beer belly. And it's Kingsley Colgate.
Yes.
The adventurer, and he has rocked up on the beach with a speedboat, totally unannounced, and said, "Can I stay for a couple of nights?" He was retracing Livingstone's footsteps, and that brought him to our beach. Bizarrely, he was just driving past and saw that there was something there, and so pulled in. And I think that's a really sweet little story that happened.
Paul, you've been kind enough to give a prize giveaway. Can you tell the listeners in your own words what it is you're going to be giving away?
Yeah, we would love to host a couple for 2 nights. 2 nights for free, and your third or fourth night we will give you reduced rates. Please come there, because coming for 2 nights you would be very upset. You really want to spend 4 or 5 nights when you get to Nkwichi. So we'll happily give you your first 2 nights. You still need to get there. It's a challenge, but we're very much look forward to hosting someone from out there in the world.
Paul, that's very kind. Thank you very much. And thank you for being a guest on the show. It's been really interesting. I'm very jealous of the place that you get to stay at a lot of the time of your life. Maybe one day I'm going to visit.
Please do. And if you don't, I'll hold you to account on that.
That was Paul Simkin, who is the owner of Nkwichi Lodge on the shores of Lake Malawi. Do not forget that fantastic prize giveaway of an all-inclusive 2-night stay at Nkwichi Lodge. All the entry details can be found in the show notes of this episode, or head over to www.wildsunsets.travel/podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate the show on Apple Podcasts or drop me an email. Tune in again next week when I will be chatting to Justin Boshoff, who is the General Manager of Mount Kamdaboo, a fantastic game reserve in Graafrenet, South Africa. My name is Rael Zeev, and consider this. A few years from now, you will not remember how much it cost you, but you will still remember the memories you made. Keep traveling.